All right, so let's wrap this up. This is, in this video, we'll do days 4 and 5. Day 4 is drafting, and day 5 is a mini lesson for revision. It's based on teacher choices, what you see, trends and patterns that you see in the drafts and student work, and you decide, okay, here's what they need from me right now. And you can do day 5 on the same day as day 4, or you can do it on day 5. So you can do 2 things in day 4, drafting, mini lesson, quick revision, or you can do drafting on day 4, mini lesson, quick revision on day 5. So let's just jump right in and dive into it, and you will write. You'll do a draft, and I'm going to model it and do one in front of you. And yesterday, if you'll remember, I went ahead and made an outline. I like to let students do that when the reading is really fresh. And so I'll take that off and I'll do the overview. The overview is the overview of the issue. A lot of times I like to put my claim right in the overview. So I'll model that. More people than ever are drinking bottled water. Some say it tastes better than tap, while others think just the opposite. And remember, this is just a draft. It's routine writing. It's just giving students opportunities to just get the whole argument down on paper. You can always come back later in the year, later in the month, and have them really flesh this out if you want and make it better. But just modeling how to just get things down. Considerations besides taste include cost, environmental factors, and regulations. Some things I learned from the reading. Sometimes I just like to, in the overview, just let my reader know if people have, now remember, this is my claim. I'm making my claim. After I've read, I'm ready to say what I think about this situation, and I'm going to back it up with evidence. If people have access to clean tap water, they should choose it over bottled water when they can. That's my claim. All right. Evidence for my claim. Okay. So some things I learned, and at this point, you know, sometimes I like to look back at the articles now that I have a claim. They should drink it when they can. Really good evidence is that cities are required to regularly test tap water. And another piece of evidence is the plastic problem. Harmful chemicals into the ground and the water supply. Okay. So remember, this is writing into the day. It's just a quick draft. So I'll stop the share and go back to my draft page. Modeling for my students. I always want to do that. Okay. I'm at the part where there's evidence for my claim, and it's going to be the testing, remember, and plastic in landfills, because those two go right along with what my claim is. Tap water should be chosen over bottled water. And then I have a, little condition here, a little nuance, if people have access to clean water. So let me start fleshing out these two pieces of evidence, and then I can take that out. While some people think bottled water is healthier than tap water, the fact is tap water is more regulated, tested chemicals than bottled water. According to, I can go back to my article and I can actually quote Lauren and then the woman in the video. Remember, I'm just modeling for you. You would want to start some of this for your students. I'm not going to actually write the entire thing in front of you. And then I can put what she says, and then I can put another piece of evidence if I want, or just have one piece for that. Writing in today is usually just like a really quick draft. Students write the overview, make their claim, look back at the article, and talk about a couple of pieces of evidence, and then wrap it up with a conclusion, okay? So others say, but I disagree, I could use some evidence from the International Bottled Water Association. And then for my, while the International Bottled Water Association says bottled water is perfectly safe, they did not address the issue of plastic in landfills, or the high cost of bottled water to a family's budget, okay? So I've got testing, plastic in landfills, I did what others say, and in the end, we should be responsible citizens and make choices that will be healthy for our bodies and for the environment. Or I could say our bodies, our budgets, and the environment. One of these choices is definitely drinking out of the tap instead of purchasing bottled. Okay. Now, at this point, turn the video off, write your draft, and then turn the video back on, and we'll talk about what you do at this point once all the students have done their drafts and you are going to decide if you want them to revise. All right. Now, if you want your students to revise, you're going to look at all of the argument drafts, and you're going to say, oh, you know what? My students have gotten really good at making a claim. Some of them aren't as nuanced maybe as I would like. And they've gotten good at choosing evidence, but maybe I want them to get a little bit better at countering. That's one of the skills, if you'll remember, when we did the annotating the lesson sequence, countering is one of the argument skills. So I am going to now stop sharing that screen, and I'm going to go into the slide deck for countering. Oh, it's right here. All right, so here are some sentence frames for countering. So I would say to students, and I'm going to say to you right now, look at your draft, and did you counter at all? So did you say, did you pull out evidence from any of the text that you wanted to counter or push back against? So for example, I did it with the plastic, yes, but while let me find a sentence frame here. It's easy to think blank, but when you look at the facts, I can say it's easier to think bottled water is healthier, but when you look at the facts, tap water is just as or even more healthy. It may be true that bottled water is heavily regulated, however, and this would make it healthy for you. However, there is still the issue of plastic filling landfills. So I think I'll go with this one. And this is what I would tell students if they are on the revision day. If you choose to do revision, I would say find one of these stems, look back at your argument, and where can you insert one or more of these to bump up the quality of your writing. So I can put that right here where the others say. So this, let's pretend I actually wrote that paragraph, and I can make it better with that. It may be true that, however, okay. Evidence from the International Bottled Water Association indicates that bottled water is heavily regulated and perfectly healthy. They state, and then I can pull out a piece of evidence from that. And then I will say, in response to that, it may be true that bottled and tap water are equally healthy. However, there is still the matter of plastic clogging landfills and harming the water supply. For this reason, we should choose tap water when possible. If we do not, then we risk doing major damage to our environment. Okay. But what I did was, it may be true that, however, and I'm telling the reasons that, yes, well, that may be true. However, what about these things? Okay. So a few quick words about days 4 and 5. Day 4, you always want the students to draft. Remember, the draft might look really, well, it will. It will look really, really messy. And then you can check those, you can walk around while the students are drafting and look for trends and patterns. And you can think, you know what, this would be a good time to introduce those countering stems. And I'll display those. I'll model with how to counter respectfully and effectively, and then I'll have students look. I can do it that very day. I can say, hey guys, let's look at, I want everybody to look and see where you can counter something in a text. Look at your claim. What do you see in a text that seems to go against your claim, and how can you counter it using one of these stems? You could do it that day, or you could look it through their notebooks later after class if you need to move on to something else. And then the next day, or even the next week, it's not uncommon to go back to some notebook writing and say, hey, let's play around with countering. Look at several drafts that you've written. Do you see a place in one of them that you could counter using some of these stems and bump up the quality of your work? So lots of teacher decisions in the reading. How much do you read to the students? How much do you let them read to themselves or in pairs? Modeling, how much do you model? I always err on the side of too much modeling. There can never be too much modeling. And then formative assessment, look for trends and patterns. Ask yourself, what do they need from me? That's a teacher decision. And then when do they get that from you? Is it immediately that day? Is it the next day? Or is it sometime later when you have them revisit some writing and bump up the quality using a quick mini lesson from you? So that is upper elementary, writing into the day as routine argument writing and formative assessment. Remember, this resource has a long, long title because it serves more than one purpose.